We are going to continue with solving inequalities, and just remember, it seemed like you did pretty good. When we're solving, nothing is different, right? It's just like solving an equation. The only thing you have to remember is when you multiply or divide by a negative, you must flip the inequality. All right. So looking at example 1 here. Again, our goal is to get x by itself. We always undo addition or subtraction first. So how do I get rid of the 7? Since it's minus 7, I'm going to go ahead and add it. Line it up under the 8. I get 3x is less than 15. Now I divide by 3, and x is less than 5. Okay. Next one, right? So right away, to get rid of 5, I'm going to go ahead and subtract it. Now, again, you struggled a little bit with the addition in that. So we bring down to negative 6y, and negative 16 minus 5 gives you negative 21. You have to keep track of that sign. Now, I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 6. When I divide by negative 6, y is, I almost made the mistake, right? When you divide by a negative, you must flip the inequality sign. So it becomes greater than or equal to, and then 21 over 6, it's positive 21 over 6, but we are going to reduce it by dividing each of these by 3. And that would give you 21 divided by 3 is 7 over 2. Okay, but when you divide by that negative, you must flip the inequality sign. Now, it is very important when you're solving these type of equations to move the variables to the left and the constants to the right. So any variable expression on the right, I'm going to get rid of. So since this 2x is positive, I'm going to subtract it, line it up under its like term. How do I get rid of this minus 7? I add it, line it up under its like term. And now 6x minus 2x gives me 4x. Those eliminate. Is greater than 17 plus 7 is 24. Now I can go ahead and get rid of the 4. When I divide by 4, x is greater than 6. And I am done. Next one. So again, once we see we have variables on the right, we're going to get rid of them. So I'm going to add the 2m. Since it's minus 2m, I'm going to add it, line it up under its like term. How do I get rid of this 7? Since that's positive 7, I'm going to subtract it, line it up under its like term, and I have to make sure I add and subtract correctly. Negative 3m plus 2m is negative m, is less than 4 minus 7 is negative 3. Now, to get rid of this negative, right, pretend it's negative m, I'm going to go ahead, divide by negative 1. And when I do that, I have to flip the inequality sign to be greater than positive 3. Okay. So anytime we see a set of parentheses, we must distribute. Now, if you wanted to, you technically could divide by that 7 first, right? So I can either distribute or divide by 7. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 7n is greater than 147. But now I'm going to go ahead, subtract that 35, since it's positive 35. Subtract 35. 7n is greater than 112. And 112 divided by 7 will give you 16. So I divide by 7, n is greater than 16. All right. So fractions tend to be the nemesis for some students. So let's conquer these. So I'm trying to get p by itself. I always undo addition or subtraction first. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 7, line it up under its like term on the other side. So it ends up giving me p over 4 is less than or equal to 6 minus 7 is -1. Now I'm going to go ahead and I get rid of any denominator by multiplying by 4. Since I multiply by a positive, I don't have to flip the inequality sign, and that will give me p is less than or equal to -4. Now here, if I look, I have no parentheses, but if I highlight the inequality sign, I have the left side and I have the right side. So what I have to do is combine like terms on the left side first. So 2v minus 4v will give me -2v plus 4 is less than or equal to -8. Now I can go ahead and subtract that 4 from both sides. When I do that, -2v is less than or equal to -12. Now how do I get rid of that -2? Well, I know I have to divide by it, but since I divided by a negative, right, I have to remember to flip that inequality sign, and I forgot again, right? And when I flip it, v is greater than or equal to -12 divided by -2 is +6. So this one, if I look at the left side, I notice nothing can be combined there, so I rewrite it down. But on the right side, I first have to distribute this 8. So I would get -6p plus 8 times p is 8p. 8 times 4 is plus 32. Now I can go ahead and if I look at the right side, the -6p and the 8p can be combined. So 5p plus 20 is less than -6p plus 8p is 2p plus 32. Now that the left and right side are simplified, move all my variables to the left by subtracting 2p, all the constants to the right, and 5p minus 2p is 3p, is less than 32 minus 20 is 12. Now I can divide by 3. And p is less than 4. Okay, so that's all the solving part. And again, it's no different than solving an equation, which you're pretty good at, but we have to take it a step further and make sure we flip the inequality sign when it's necessary. Now, the next examples, right, do not make them harder than they need to be. Okay, there's a couple of keywords we're going to talk about here, right? When we see at least, that means that's the smallest something can be, right? So if it's at least something, that's the smallest, so the whatever must be greater than. At most means that's the biggest it can be. Therefore, if you have x, that means x can be at most something, that would be less than. So the way I like to think of it is you have to be at least 16 years old to drive. So your age must be greater than 16. You could be at most, 48 inches to ride the ride, which means you have to be smaller than 48 inches. Okay? So when we read this, during the summer, you want to read at least 15 books. Write an inequality that represents how many books you need to reach your goal. I'm going to let X be the number of books read. So the number of books read must be at least 15. So I must read a minimum of 15. So x must be greater than or equal to 15. And I should put that over here. You could also be equal to. You are checking suitcases at the airport. Suitcases can weigh at most 50 pounds, right? An inequality that represents how much your suitcase can weigh. So we're going to say the weight W of your suitcase cannot be over 50 pounds, at most 50 pounds. So it has to be less than or equal to 50. Okay. You spend $50 on supplies to make bracelets. You plan to sell the bracelets to other students in your class for $4 each, right? Right? An inequality defines the possible number of bracelets you need to sell in order to for the profit to be positive. Well, here's the thing. How do you figure out how much you bring in? If you sell it 4 times a bracelet, and say I sell $4 a bracelet, and say I sell 5 bracelets, that means I would do 4 times 5 to get, I make $20. If I sell 10 bracelets, 4 times 10 is 40. Now, if I don't know the number of bracelets I'm selling, what am I going to do? I'm going to use a variable. So 4 times B, where B is the number of bracelets, right? I want the money to bring in. I want to find out how many it takes for me to be greater than $50. So I need my profit to be greater than, or sorry, my income to be greater than 50. Well, how do I figure that out? 4 times B. So if I divide by 4, 50 divided by 4, so the number of bracelets would have to be greater than 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. So on the basically B must be greater than or equal to 13 bracelets. Okay. A blank CD can hold 70 minutes of music. So far, you burned 25 minutes of music on the CD. Hopefully, you still know what a CD is. You estimate that each song lasts 4 minutes. Write and solve an inequality that finds the number of additional songs, right, you can burn onto the CD. So right now, you have to understand is you have 70 minutes, but you've already used 25 minutes. So I have to do 70 minus 25, which gives me 45 minutes left. Now, if each song is 4 minutes, 4 times the number of songs S must be less than or equal to how many minutes do I have total? Well, I have 45 minutes left on the CD after the 25 minutes. If I divide by 4, right, I get S is equal to 11.25. So that means the number of songs must be less than 11, or actually 12, sorry. Okay, so that's the last lesson. Complete the homework, send it to me, and hopefully this is pretty easy for you.